After my wife died, I always left a little money for the homeless man outside the library. One day he grabbed my hand and said, "You've been too kind. Don't go home tonight. Stay in a hotel. Tomorrow, I'll show you why." I watched my hand shake as I held out the $10 bill. Same routine, same corner, same homeless guy wrapped in that filthy green coat that smelled like rain and desperation. But this time, his fingers clamped around my wrist. "You've been too kind," he whispered. "Don't go home tonight. Stay in a hotel tomorrow. I'll show you why." His eyes weren't cloudy or distant like I'd expected. They were sharp, focused, almost military, the kind of eyes that had seen things and cataloged them. "What are you talking about?" I pulled back, but his grip held firm, not aggressive, urgent. "Please trust me. I've been watching your place for 3 weeks now. You're in danger, real danger." My heart hammered against my ribs. This was insane. I'd been leaving him money for 3 months, ever since Sarah died and guilt made me do something, anything, that felt like goodness in a world that had taken everything from me. $10 every Tuesday and Friday, sometimes $20 if I'd had a good day. "Who are you?" "Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., right here." He released my wrist slowly, deliberately. "I'll explain everything. Just please don't go home tonight." I stumbled back, my briefcase nearly slipping from my grip. My fingers were numb. He sat back down against the library wall and pulled the green coat tighter, transforming back into just another invisible person on a street corner. But those eyes stayed on me. 3 months earlier, I'd buried my wife, Sarah Chen, 34 years old, killed by a drunk driver at 9:15 p.m. on a Tuesday while picking up my prescription from CVS. She texted me at 9:12, "Almost there. Want ice cream?" I'd replied, "Always." She never got that ice cream. The grief counselor, Dr. Patricia Morrison, licensed clinical psychologist with 17 years of experience in trauma, told me guilt was normal, that my brain would search for ways I could have prevented it. Different timing, different pharmacy, if I'd gone myself. "You can't rewrite the past," Dr. Morrison said during our 4th session. "You can only choose how you move forward." So I started giving money to the homeless guy outside the library. It felt like the smallest act of kindness in a universe that had shown me none. Every Tuesday and Friday after work, before going home to an empty house that still smelled like Sarah's lavender shampoo, he never asked for it, never even looked up most days, just accepted the bills with a slight nod and a mumbled, "Bless you." I didn't know his name, didn't want to. It was easier that way, transactional kindness that let me sleep at night. But Sarah's brother Marcus had noticed. "You're still doing that?" he'd asked 2 weeks ago, watching from his car as I handed over a 20. "Jamie, man, you've got to stop letting people take advantage of your grief." Marcus Holloway, Sarah's older brother by 6 years, investment banker, divorced twice, the family success story who'd shown up at the funeral in a $3,000 suit and given the eulogy that made everyone cry. He'd been helpful after Sarah died, too helpful maybe, organizing paperwork, forwarding insurance documents, helping me sort through Sarah's desk because I couldn't bring myself to touch her things without breaking down. I gave him my house keys. I'd told Dr. Morrison last week. Is that weird? He said I shouldn't be alone during the difficult transition. His words? Dr. Morrison had written something in her notebook. "How does it make you feel?" Grateful, I guess. He's family. Sarah would want him to help. And how did Sarah feel about Marcus? I'd paused, tried to remember. She never talked about him much. That should have been a red flag. I checked into the Holiday Inn on Morrison Street at 8:47 p.m., feeling like a complete idiot. The clerk, name tag, Brenda, gave me a look that said she'd seen worse. Just the one night? Yeah, just one. The room smelled like industrial cleaner and previous guests' regrets. I sat on the edge of the bed, briefcase beside me, and stared at my phone. This was insane. I was taking advice from a homeless man who'd grabbed my wrist and spoken in cryptic warnings like something out of a bad thriller. Tomorrow I'd go back, apologize for being weird, and maybe find him a shelter or social services or something. My phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. Unknown number. "Your security system just went offline. Thought you'd want to know. Marcus." I read it 3 times. Marcus had my security system login information. I'd given it to him 2 months ago when he'd offered to check on the house while I was visiting Sarah's parents in Sacramento. But why would he be checking it at 11:47 p.m. on a random Thursday? My blood went cold. I called him, straight to voicemail. "Hey, this is Marcus. Leave a message." I hung up and dialed again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I called the police non-emergency line. The dispatcher, bored, professional, said they'd send a patrol car for a welfare check but couldn't enter without probable cause. "It's my house," I said. "I'm the owner. Are you able to go check yourself, sir? I'm not home. Then we'll have an officer drive by and verify there's no visible signs of forced entry or distress." I stayed on the phone until Officer Martinez, Portland PD, badge 2847, confirmed my house looked normal from the outside. Lights off, no vehicles in the driveway, security panel showed offline status, but that could be an equipment malfunction. "Does anyone else have access to your residence?" Officer Martinez asked. I hesitated. "My brother-in-law, he has keys. Have you tried contacting him? He's not answering." There was a pause. "Sir, if you believe someone may be in your home without permission, we'd need you to come verify and file a formal report. Or if you have reasonable suspicion of criminal activity." No, it's fine. "Thank you, officer." I hung up and sat in the dark hotel room until dawn, watching shadows move across the ceiling. The homeless man was standing when I arrived at 6:52 10:42 a.m. Not sitting, standing, waiting. He'd shaved. His coat was folded neatly beside a backpack I'd never noticed before. He wore a faded Portland Trailblazers t-shirt and jeans that had seen better days but weren't the rags I'd imagined. "My name is Dennis Park," he said. "Former detective, Portland Police Bureau, 23 years. Badge 1847, retired 2019. I stared. He pulled out a weathered leather wallet and flipped it open. Official Portland PD identification card. Detective Dennis Park. The photo showed a younger version of him. Clean-shaven, crew-cut, sharp-eyed. "Lost my pension in the divorce," Dennis continued. His voice was different now, clear, authoritative. "Ex-wife's lawyer was better than mine. Lost the house, too. Lost my will to fight after that." He closed the wallet carefully, but I never lost my instincts. "What does this have to do with? Your brother-in-law has been in your house 4 times in the past 2 weeks. Always at night. Always when you're working late." Dennis pulled out a phone, newer than I expected. A Samsung Galaxy. I started documenting it the second time. Figured something wasn't right. He handed me the phone. Security footage. Grainy, but unmistakable. Marcus, in my living room. 2:34 a.m. timestamp. Going through Sarah's antique desk. The cherry wood one her grandmother had left her. He was wearing gloves. "How did you—" "I sleep across the street. Doorway of that closed-down bookstore." Dennis gestured behind me. "I see everything on this block. Been there since June. You started noticing me in September." My stomach dropped. "Last night was different," Dennis said. His jaw tightened. "He brought 2 other men. They disabled your security system from the exterior panel. I recorded it all." He scrolled through more footage. Marcus and 2 guys I'd never seen before. One of them had tools. The other held a flashlight. Timestamp. 11:52 p.m. 5 minutes after Marcus texted me. "He's looking for something," Dennis said quietly. "Documents, probably. Legal papers, insurance policies, property deeds. Your wife had money, didn't she? The trust fund. Sarah's grandmother had died when Sarah was 16 and left her $847,000 in a trust that matured when she turned 30. We'd never touched it. Sarah wanted to use it for our kids' college funds someday, or maybe a vacation home when we retired. Marcus knew about it. He'd made a joke at Sarah's 30th birthday party about how she was officially rich now and better not forget her struggling big brother. Sarah had laughed it off, but her hand had tightened around mine under the table. "He thinks I don't know about it," I whispered. "The trust. We kept it in a separate account. Sarah managed it. I have no idea what the access information even is." Dennis nodded slowly. "He's planning to forge documents, make it look like she left it to him before she died, or that you both agreed to divide estate assets and you're too grief-stricken to remember clearly." He handed me a small flash drive. "Everything's on here. Video footage, timestamps, audio from last week where I got close enough to record him talking to someone on the phone about cleaning this up before the estate closes." My vision blurred with rage. "Why?" My voice cracked. "Why are you helping me?" Dennis was quiet for a long moment. "Because I spent 23 years watching people steal from each other, and when I lost everything, nobody helped me." He looked away. "Maybe I can't fix my own life, but I can still do this." The lawyer said we had enough. Catherine Brennan, partner at Brennan & Associates, 15 years in estate law. She'd handled Sarah's grandmother's trust originally and had helped us update our wills 2 years ago. "This is fraud. Attempted fraud at minimum. Breaking and entering. Conspiracy." She spread the printed screenshots across her conference table. The audio recording of him discussing cleaning up the estate. "That's admissible in Oregon with one-party consent if Dennis was part of the conversation or in a public space." "He wasn't part of the conversation," I said. "Marcus was on his phone." "Was it in a public space where there was no reasonable expectation of privacy?" "The sidewalk outside my house." Catherine made a note. "We can work with that. Plus, you have video evidence of unauthorized entry with visible criminal tools. That's enough for the DA." Detective Sarah Walsh, 18 years with PPB, currently assigned to white-collar crime, agreed. She sat across from me in interview room C at the Central Precinct, reviewing Dennis's footage on her laptop. "Your brother-in-law is an idiot," she said bluntly. "These guys document everything themselves. Texts, calls, videos. They think they're smarter than the system." She looked up. "Do you want to press charges?" "Yes." "Do you want him arrested?" I thought about Sarah. About how she'd always said Marcus was complicated. How she'd never wanted him at our house for more than a few hours. How she'd made me promise to keep the trust information private. "He stole my wife's keys from the funeral home," I said quietly. "That's how he got into the house the first time. While she was lying in a casket, he went through her purse." Detective Walsh's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "Then yes, we'll arrest him." But I wanted more than an arrest. I wanted Marcus to feel what I felt, watching someone I trusted destroy everything. So I called him. "Hey Marcus, I need help with some of Sarah's paperwork. The bank needs signatures for the trust transfer, and I'm completely lost. Can you come by Saturday morning? Maybe around 10? His voice was warm, concerned. The same voice he'd used at the funeral. "Of course, Jamie. Whatever you need, brother. I'll be there. Brother." Sarah used to hate when he called me that. "You're not brothers," she'd said once, annoyed. "He barely talked to you before we got married. I'd thought she was being unfair. Now I understood." Saturday morning, I cleaned the house, vacuumed, did dishes, made coffee, put out the good mugs, the ones Sarah had bought in Seattle during our honeymoon. At 9:45 a.m., Dennis arrived. He'd borrowed clothes from someone, khakis and a pressed blue button-down that almost fit. haircut. He'd shaved again, looked almost respectable. You didn't have to do this, I said. Yeah, I did. Dennis checked the small camera he'd placed on the bookshelf. Everything's recording, audio, and video. Detective Walsh has a unit parked 2 blocks away. Catherine Brennan arrived at 9:52 with a leather folder full of documents. Behind her came Officer David Chen, Patrol Division, 8 years on the force. He positioned himself near the kitchen doorway, out of immediate sight but close enough. Remember, Catherine said quietly, let him incriminate himself. Ask questions. Let him explain. Don't confront until we have what we need. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Marcus knocked at exactly 10 a.m. I opened the door, and there he was. Same concerned expression he'd worn at Sarah's funeral, same gentle voice, pressed slacks, and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. Hey, Jamie, how are you holding up? Better some days. I stepped aside. Thanks for coming. Of course, brother. Whatever you need. He walked past me into the living room and froze. Catherine sat at the dining table. Officer Chen stood by the kitchen. Dennis was on the couch, hands folded. Marcus's face drained of color. What's going on? Sit down, Marcus. My voice was calmer than I felt. Jamie, what? Sit down. He sat slowly. His eyes darted between the 3 strangers. I remained standing. Marcus, how many times have you been in this house when I wasn't home? I don't. What are you talking about? Exact number. How many times? Jamie, you're not making sense. I've been here to help you with paperwork like you asked. At 2:00 a.m., silence. At 11:52 p.m., last Thursday, with 2 men I've never met, his jaw tightened. I don't know what you think. Catherine slid the folder across the table. Video evidence, timestamps, audio recordings, witness testimony from a former Portland police detective who documented your illegal entries over 17 days. Marcus looked at Dennis. Really looked at him. Recognition finally dawned. You? His voice cracked. You're just some bum on the street corner. Former Detective Dennis Park. Badge 1847, 23 years. Dennis's voice was quiet, steady, and I've seen enough criminals in my career to know one when he's sitting in front of me. Marcus's hands gripped the arms of the chair. This is insane. Jamie, I'm family. I'm Sarah's brother. I've been helping you. Helping yourself, I said. To Sarah's trust fund. The one you've been searching for documentation on for 3 weeks. That's not the one you discussed on the phone outside this house with someone about cleaning up before the estate closes. We have that recording. Marcus lurched forward. You can't record me without consent. No reasonable expectation of privacy on a public sidewalk, Catherine said. Oregon's a one-party consent state for conversations, but this falls under the exception. And the video evidence of you entering with lockpicks and disabling security equipment, that's multiple felonies. Officer Chen stepped forward. Marcus Holloway, I need you to stand up and put your hands behind your back. This is bullshit. Marcus shot to his feet. Jamie, you're going to let them do this? To family? Sarah would be disgusted. Sarah told me to keep the trust information private, I said quietly. She told me 2 weeks before she died that she didn't trust you, that you'd always been jealous of her, that you'd ask me for money eventually, and I should say no. The words hit him like a physical blow. She never said that. She said you stole from your mother's purse when you were teenagers, that you forged her signature on a credit card application when you were 23, that your second divorce was because your wife found out you'd been moving her money into hidden accounts. Marcus's face twisted. She was a liar. Always was. Always thought she was better than me. She was, I said. She was better than both of us. Officer Chen moved closer with handcuffs. Mr. Holloway, you have the right to remain. Marcus lunged across the table. Not at me. At the folder. At the evidence. Officer Chen caught him mid-dive and slammed him face down against the dining table. The sound of his cheek hitting wood was sharp and satisfying. You think you're so smart? Marcus screamed, his voice muffled against the table. Officer Chen wrenched his arms behind his back and cuffed him. You think that bum's testimony means anything? You think anyone will believe? Detective Walsh will be taking your statement downtown, Catherine said calmly. Along with your phone, your computer, your financial records, we've already filed a restraining order and an emergency freeze on any accounts linked to Sarah's estate. Marcus thrashed as Officer Chen pulled him upright. His face was red, a vein pulsing in his temple. Spittle flew as he shouted, "This is a mistake. I'll sue you. I'll destroy you. Sarah would want me to have that money. She told me herself." When? I asked quietly. What? When did she tell you? He blinked, confused. Sarah died on September 14th. When did she tell you she wanted you to have the trust money? Marcus's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Last year, he finally said. Last summer, she said. We were in Italy last summer for our anniversary, June 10th through July 2nd. I pulled out my phone and showed him our photos. Sarah in front of the Colosseum. Sarah eating gelato in Florence. Sarah laughing in our Venice hotel room. Every single day. The lie crumbled on his face. Officer Chen pushed him toward the door. Let's go. Marcus struggled, twisted. His shoulder slammed into the doorframe and he howled. I'm family. You can't do this to family. You stole her keys from the funeral home, I said. My voice didn't shake. While she was dead, while I was signing paperwork for her cremation, you went through her purse and took her house keys. He stopped struggling. The funeral director told me someone had been in the room. They thought it was me, but I never left the office. I was too broken to even look at her one last time. Marcus's eyes glistened, not with remorse, with rage. You were always weak, he spat. Sarah knew it. She married you because you were safe, boring, boring, easy to control. Officer Chen shoved him through the doorway. That's enough. But Marcus kept screaming as they dragged him down the porch steps. About injustice, about family betrayal, about lawyers and lawsuits, and how I'd regret this. The patrol car door slammed shut, muffling his voice. I stood in the doorway and watched the car pull away. My legs felt weak, my chest tight. Catherine touched my shoulder. You did good. I feel sick. That's normal. She handed me a business card. Dr. Morrison's office. She does trauma therapy. This is going to get worse before it gets better. I already had Dr. Morrison's card, but I took this one anyway. Dennis was packing up his camera equipment when I turned back inside. What happens now? I asked. Detective Walsh will process him. DA will decide on charges. Could be breaking and entering, attempted fraud, conspiracy, identity theft if he tried to access any accounts. Dennis zipped the camera into his bag. With the evidence we have, he's looking at prison time. And you? Dennis paused. What about me? What do you need? Money? Housing? I can help. I don't need charity. It's not charity. It's payment. I crossed my arms. You saved me from losing everything Sarah left behind. You gave me proof when I had nothing. That's worth more than $10 on a street corner. Dennis was quiet for a long moment. There's a veterans shelter program. Helps former law enforcement get back on their feet. I've been on the waiting list for 4 months. What's the program called? Portland Shield Initiative, run by Captain Patricia Morrison, former Marine. I pulled out my phone. Dr. Patricia Morrison's sister, the grief counselor, told me about it. I found the number. Let me make a call. 3 months later, Marcus pled guilty to breaking and entering, attempted fraud, and conspiracy to commit identity theft. 2 years in prison. 5 years probation. Full restitution of legal fees. Permanent restraining order. His lawyer tried to argue grief and family loyalty as mitigating factors. The judge, Honorable Margaret Chen, 23 years on the bench, wasn't moved. Your sister had just died, Judge Chen said, looking at Marcus over her reading glasses. And your response was to steal from her widower. That's not grief, that's predation. Marcus didn't look at me during sentencing, just stared at his hands while the bailiff led him away. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, just exhaustion. Detective Walsh met me outside the courthouse. We recovered documentation he'd forged. Power of attorney papers with Sarah's signature, transfer forms. He'd been building a case for months. Before she died? We can't prove that. But based on the templates we found on his computer, probably. My stomach turned. He was planning this while she was alive, planning for contingencies. Detective Walsh's expression was grim. People like him always have a backup plan. Dennis got into the Portland Shield Initiative 2 weeks after Marcus's arrest. I visited him at his new apartment, a studio in Southeast Portland. Small, but clean. He'd hung his police commendations on the wall. You didn't have to pull strings, he said. I didn't. I just told Captain Morrison what you did. She made the decision. Dennis gestured to the coffee maker. Want some? Sure. We sat at his tiny kitchen table and drank terrible instant coffee. He'd started working security for a local community center 20 hours a week, enough to pay rent and buy groceries and rebuild his life one shift at a time. Thank you, I said finally. You already thanked me. I mean, for trusting yourself, your instincts, for not giving up on being who you were. Dennis stared into his coffee. Some days I wanted to. Easier to just disappear. But you didn't. No. He looked up. I didn't.